excited because I have my co-coach Francine here with me today. You have heard me talk about multiple times Collab Coaching, and we're going to dive in today, give you a little backstory, and honestly, we're going to let this podcast flow whatever way the spirit moves us, because there is so much we could talk about, but we want to talk about what really God wants us to talk about at the end of the day, which is exactly how we have approached Collab Coaching, right? I mean, we made a format, right, of the things that we wanted to talk about. And yet every week we get a little bit in there, and then it seems like we always take a side road that needs to be done. Right.
Yeah. We do attempt to be organized. We have that ability. Yeah,
we do. Yeah. We definitely have the organization there. And it's so funny because I feel like, and we're talking about this before we hit record, right, Francine, that like I said, oh, my brain doesn't work. And you said, no, your brain works too well. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so true. My brain is always firing on all cylinders, and it needs to calm down sometimes. So the fact that we have a plan and yet we hold it very loosely for our sessions inside Collab Coaching is only by the grace of God. Wouldn't you say so?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But I think what's so cool about that, though, Chelsea, is that we do have a foundation, and no matter where it goes, like those main principles and the things that we coach people on, they're still there. It's just that the topic may change a little bit, or it actually gets a little messier, right? Or we get a little more detailed than we were expecting to. That's what happens. It's not that people get ripped off, on anything that they get from these sessions. I think sometimes they get a little bit more than they expected, because it does go pretty deep.
It does. It really does. And I think that that's been the most beautiful part of it, is that we've been able to create that space for our clients that, they can explore and create awareness around thoughts and emotions that they maybe haven't in the past or have been completely unaware of. And, just the fact that we've created that safe space so that they can have that vulnerability within the group and learn from each other, learn with each other. And just, it's amazing the stories that we've been able to share in there, that they've been able to share, that, gosh, just has blown my mind every week.
Yes, I know. Right. Goosebumps, right? Yes. Every single time. And what I love too is that, like, we've heard from some people in the group, they're like, I signed up for this because I wanted to do, something different with my business, right? I wanted to achieve, certain rewards for my business that I wasn't seeking, but I'm seeing how this is impacting other areas of my life as well. And that's a really beautiful thing, right? I mean, that's one of the sessions actually that we covered, was how your business can become your idol, and how it can become your identity. And that is not the way God created us, for one thing. And so when you're out of alignment with that will impact you. And of course, you are the person who's also part of, a relationship that you may have, or a friendship you may have, or another job you may have, or, your fitness, whatever it may be. If you're out of alignment, that certainly is going to impact every area of your life. So when we get together with these people in Collab Coaching and we dive deeper into the stories that they have, and interesting, just some of the things that they'll bring up, again, they're in here to help exceed and meet some business goals that they have. But oftentimes, most of the time, the stories they bring up have nothing to do with their business. But they're starting to see that, I have scarcity mindset in regard to friendships, and yes, that's impacting how I show up with my clients or with my team. So it's really interesting. Like, once you make when you make those connections, you can see growth in all areas of your life.
Right. And I know going into this, we've always said, like, the only answer we won't accept is I don't know. But the funny thing is, we also won't give you the answers either. And I think that that's a piece that I've loved inside the group, is that, we've been able to facilitate that deeper awareness.
Mhm.
of making those connections, beyond just business, but like into, okay, well, how is this thinking impacting other areas of my life? And I think one of my favorite comments that was made inside was, I joined this for my business, but it's impacting or applicable to all the areas of my life. And I was
Yeah.
just like, oh my gosh, I love that because it's so
Yeah.
true. It
Yes.
follows the, all the boats rising principle, which I've talked about in previous episodes of, we can only really focus on one or two areas at a time. But when we
Mhm.
focus on those areas and we level them up, it's like a rising tide that lifts all the boats, right?
Uh-huh.
And if
Uh-huh.
we don't focus on any areas, it's like the tide going out and everything kind of sinks with it, right?
Right.
Oh, I
Right.
love that.
Well,
Mm.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Here's the
No, go
thing
ahead.
too. There's this rumor going around that people accept for truth is that you can have more energy, you can find more time. Those things are not true. Like the amount of time you have in a day is finite. Everybody has 24 hours of day, right? Energy is very similar. There are days you feel more energetic for sure, and there are days you're more whatever, need to take a nap. But energy is still energy, and it's expendable. And so when people get really wrapped up into thinking that they need to do A, B, and C to be successful, oftentimes what we find that they're looking for is a strategy. And so they may put all of everything they have into the strategy and want it to work, and it may, but again, when you're not focusing on the other areas of your life too, the changes you see from that, even though they may be favorable, they're probably going to be short term because it's not changing anything else, right? It's like if you have termites in your house and you decide to put up a pretty pair of curtains in the living room. Well, it's going to look really pretty in there for a while, but your walls still may collapse unless you take care of the termites, right? So it's bigger picture thinking without, and yet it's also empowering because it's not one more thing you have to do. Like once you learn these principles and you learn how to apply them, it's multitasking at its highest because it will positively impact all the other areas of your life as well. So you don't have to learn
Mhm.
seven different things, to fix seven different areas. It's one size fits all in that regard.
That's so true. Well, and I think that that's where most of our clients have come to us is because, they have been pouring themselves into strategies and, taking courses, working with other coaches, doing programs, all these things. And those are all great things, right? Like we
Right,
need those things. Like without strategy, we don't actually take any action and
right,
move forward. So we need strategy. But, each of our clients were in a position of being frustrated because they had created a certain level of results, that was different for each individual in whatever capacity their business was, whether they were an entrepreneur, a social seller like we are, or, XYZ, right?
hmm
Um, and they were frustrated. And I think like what we've really helped them do inside is to realize, first of all, that what got you there
hmm
cannot get you to the next level because it's not about strategy at that point, it's about mindset.
right, right,
And that's what we do, right? We help to uncover the stories that are going on that are creating the emotions that drive our behaviors that create our outcomes. Because, and I've said this a million times before that I hate it when people say like life is happening to me or life is happening for me. I strongly disagree with both of those statements. Life is happening and it's very neutral, but
hmm
how we perceive it and the meaning that we assign to ourselves or to others or the situation, that is what creates our emotions.
hmm
And perspective really is everything because two people can look at the exact same thing and see two completely different things or make it mean something about them, right?
right,
And that is not neutral. That is not factual. That is
right.
very much subjective to the individual. And so, what we've been doing inside is has been so powerful because it helps people to see that, oh, like I am in control of the outcomes that I'm creating.
Mhm.
Getting back to my thinking, if I can just get to the thinking and lean in, And so I did want to talk about the 7 F's and then a few of the tools that we've helped our clients with, because I think that they're just so helpful in this. Do you want to go ahead and share those? I just think they're so good.
Yeah. So the 7 F's, and you may be familiar with these. They have lots of different names. I just call them the 7 F's for simplicity's sake. But basically, they are the 7 pieces of you. So you are more than your marriage, or more than being a mom, or whatever, a gardener. There's lots of areas of your life that you impact and that impact you. So those 7 F's are your faith, your family, your let me look, your friends, your field, which is your job, your finances, your fitness, and then fun, right? And so we do a lot of exercises with those 7 F's inside Collab Coaching. First of all, we help people learn to identify what they are. We look at those as far as things that you give your money to, right? If you had to pay for those things, are you getting your money's worth? Are you putting your time and attention into all of those areas equally? Chelsea did a beautiful lesson the other day about, it's really not so much about balance as it is about blending, right? Balance, you're trying to create a life of balance. You're probably going to be frustrated because it's impossible. Even if you achieve it for that microsecond, something's going to happen and then you're off balance again. But blending helps you to take all of the things that you are and all of the things that you love, all of the things that you were created to be, and bring them together to be that one piece. And so with these 7 F's too, we also help you put a lot of time and attention into them to ensure that you're not making one of those things all of those things. Like, for instance, in the work that Chelsea and I do with social selling, a lot of times, especially like when you first start, you're very excited and you spend a lot of time learning about it. So hopefully you're making some money. So like that becomes your field, right? That's your job. But like with the program that we do, or rather the social selling that we do, it involves health. And so fitness may become a piece of that. You spend a lot of time with people on your team. So there's a friendship there. In my case, one of my friends who I met through social selling was also the person who talked to me about Jesus. And so like my faith component was tied up in that too. And it did not lend itself to being very blended. I had a very mushed together life rather than a blended life. And so what happens is when everything is going well with my business, all those other things seem like they were doing well too. But what if I quit, or the company went bankrupt, or I had a month where business wasn't good? Then I lose the value of those other areas of my life too, because I was lumping them all together rather than giving them all separate um, pieces of my time and the respect that they all deserve. So helping people to identify that is a really big aha moment. Don't you think, Chelsea?
I totally do. Well, and I've had the same experience. That is there an echo for you? Okay, good. It's just me then.
No.
But I've had the same experience where my business became everything to me because I was able to incorporate all of those, field, finances, friends, fun, and on and on. And so when I had situations where, I had someone I was working with walk away, or I had a customer decide, what, these products aren't, I just don't like them, or whatever reason, and they decided not to buy from me anymore. Or I worked for a trip and didn't earn it, or I did work for a trip and did earn it, but didn't do it in the necessarily the right ways. Like those, I started to create these meanings around them of what it meant for me, and that negatively impacted everything else in my life, right? And how I was showing up. And so, yes, I can totally relate to that. And I loved what you said about, we've used these to help people see like where something may be off. And it was interesting because most of our clients said fun.
Mhm.
People didn't have the fun category, like have anything in the fun category. And I think that is so true, that it's one of those things that we don't really take into account. I think probably as children, we didn't even have to think about it because that's what we were always doing. But as
Yeah.
adults, we can get so serious, right? And
Mhm.
everything can be really heavy and really big. And,
Yeah.
when was the last time you laughed? Or, you know, um, I remember a couple of years ago, we went on the lake with my father-in-law in his boat, and we had the inner tube, and he was pulling us behind. And I just remember my daughter Ruth was just head back laughing hysterically. And so then we were all laughing because she was just in the zone, like having a blast. And
Uh-huh.
like we got back, all of our hair was crazy. And it's just like, wow. Like that day, the fun bucket was full,
Mhm.
but how often is it empty? And we don't even acknowledge that it's even there.
Yeah.
So I love that we walked through that with them. And the
Mhm.
other thing I was thinking about was with, resources, and they are finite, energy,
Mhm.
time, and money. Now,
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that we can't refill those continuously. And hopefully we do have ways to continually refill all three of those resources.
Mhm.
Um, but a lot of that comes down to mindset. How do you look at money? How do you look at
Yeah.
your energy? How do you look at your time? And I've done podcast episodes probably about all three of those at this point.
Right.
And that mindset and that perspective makes a huge difference in that. There was one other thing you talked about I wanted to mention, but now I can't remember it because I didn't take notes. So that's okay.
How we roll. It's how we roll. Well, and one thing too, before we start talking about like some of the tools, um, this isn't just our opinion. Like I know both of us have certifications in mindset, and I have a graduate degree and blah blah blah. But to me, that's not even what's important. You and I have both walked through this, and we have applied these principles that we did not create. That we were taught, and if you are a Christian, you'll notice the more you learn about this that this is also these are biblical principles. I mean, there's not a spot in the Bible where they say mindset coaching, but I want you to know this isn't like new age, stuff that we just created
No.
to be trendy or current or relevant or anything. Like these are really tried and true, which is one of the reasons that oftentimes we pray, during these sessions with our clients. And we use scripture to reference certain points. Fear comes up a lot, that may be something that you, the listener, may experience, and there's lots of scripture about fear, and we do pull from that. The other day we just pulled 2 Timothy, was it chapter 1, verse 7, where God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and self-control. And
Yep.
we talked about that and those things and what they mean and how they can be healthy or they could also get us in trouble, right? And how they can be applied to our life and to our businesses. So I think that's really important to point out too, that it's not just stuff we're making up as we go.
No, no. And I do think it's interesting that we've always referred to ourselves as kind of like the anti or like the bad girls of the industry because everyone's saying strategy and we're like, all strategies are just repackaged and strategies are ever changing. I mean, I always use the example of look at 2019 versus 2020
Mm-hmm.
and everything changed. And whether it was a brick and mortar business or it was a social selling business like ours, any capacity, people who didn't pivot and shift quickly
Uh-huh.
ceased to exist
Right.
and died very quickly in that, right? And that's why like I love what we do because we're kind of doing the unsexy work of mindset, which is so intangible, right? Like
Yeah.
we can't physically see what's going on inside of our head. But what's been so interesting to me, Francine, and I know that we have a lot of examples of this and we can share a few, but the tangible results that our clients are getting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has been such a powerful thing coming from this first round of our mastermind
Mm-hmm.
because that's what we want, right? Like we need to do the intangible work through tangible methods, which we'll share those tools.
Uh-huh.
But really what we want are tangible results, right? Like we want to move our bottom line or we want to, you know,
Yeah.
work in alignment. We want to be able to implement any strategy feeling good about it and not feeling that ick or that
Yeah.
dread or the
Yeah.
avoidance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
Well,
that that was my favorite tangible result was, one of our clients said, I found myself avoiding these things. So then I stopped and asked myself why, because she was using some of the techniques that we had taught inside Collab Coaching. And she realized that, for whatever reason, she didn't feel like she had enough information, or she didn't want to give too much information. And so she would quickly, she would either avoid it or quickly be like, okay, I'm done.
yeah.
Here's your quick answer. And then the conversation would end and she wouldn't have a customer through that. Right.
Right.
And so once she was able to shift that thinking to, okay, well, what is it that I really want? What's the actual goal here through this conversation? She
Mm-hmm.
was able to stop avoiding answering those messages, and she was able to have conversations and convert
Yeah.
people into customers who actually wanted to work with her. Right.
Right.
And that's what we're going for, right? The intangible work to get the tangible results.
Yeah. So my background is in social work, and there's a saying out there in the social work field: hurt people hurt people.
Mm.
And we're not doing therapy with clients or anything like that, but we do help them work through some of this hurt that they're carrying around that they haven't expressed before or connected to how it's showing up in their business. And another tangible result was one of our customers or clients was sharing with us that a friend of hers who she considered to be her best friend, they had a blow up. They broke up, and so she's feeling very vulnerable, right? Because she misses this person, and this person's no longer in her life, and so she's got this space. That's what happens when you somebody or something leaves your life. You still have this void in this space, and so there's other people in her life, and this one in particular she talked about, who she considered a friend as well, but this friend was not being respectful to her or treating her well. And anyway, another person spoke truth to her and said, why are you letting this happen? And through Collab Coaching, we were able to help her see that perhaps it was because she was expressing more of like a scarcity type of thinking because she had this friend who was missing. So that was a big aha moment, because then she realized too, perhaps she was chasing after customers who truly weren't the people who she could serve or were the people that she wanted to show up for, So that clarity about that friendship helped her in her business too, as far as what customers, how she wanted to show up and serve customers and who those customers were.
Yes, I think her response was, wow,
Yes.
wow. I think she said wow 3 times, just being able to make that connection of like, oh, like this mindset is translated into these other areas of my life, and being able to dig in and identify the cause for that
Mm-hmm.
did directly translate over into her business and how she was showing up. And oh gosh, that was such a powerful moment for
Yeah,
sure. Oh my
that was
goodness.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool. Yeah. So tools, I know one of the biggest tools that we've really shared is this unscripted journaling. And I did a podcast episode on that. I don't remember which episode number it was, but you can go back and look for that and you can listen to that. But this has been one of our favorite tools to use with people, is to help get everything that's going on in here, right? All the brains overfiring, overworking, overactive, and to get it all out on paper and help to make those connections and lean in and ask the questions. And we always say with curiosity and compassion, and with that compassion, those things that we do once helped us in some capacity, otherwise we wouldn't do them, right?
Right.
Otherwise our subconscious would not be still doing those things if it hadn't served us in some way. And so having that compassion that, okay, well, it's not serving me now. So being able to create that awareness around these thoughts and actions and emotions, and then being able to go forward from that to create new actions, I think that that's probably been the most powerful tool.
Mm-hmm.
Is really, essentially, when you boil it down, it's that sense of self-awareness, and how do you create that for yourself? How do you foster it around things that are subconscious that you're not aware of, right? And it starts
Yeah.
with questions and getting it all out on paper or speaking
Right.
it out loud, right?
Yeah. And it's not selfish to give
No.
yourself this time and this attention. It's not selfish at all,
Oh no, it's smart.
because it is smart and it's healthy for you. And it's, again, we're a system, so it's healthy. It's when you're a healthier version of yourself, you're showing up into the world healthier. So you're having a more powerful, positive impact, on the people you're encountering too. So really you are doing it for others as well as yourself.
That is so true. Yeah. I'm really excited because we're opening our doors again to Collab Coaching. It's official. We're
Yeah.
doing round 2 of the Mastermind. Um, and it's so interesting how Collab Coaching started, right, Francine? Like, I don't even remember the exact details of it, but I do remember it started with me seeing your Instagram and it said mindset coach. And I was like, well, I'm a mindset coach and I feel like I'm struggling. And my natural tendency is to be jealous or to be scarce thinking, of like, oh, well, she's doing it. Why should I do it too? Because, I know she's amazing. So what, why continue doing this? And instead I was like, no, I'm going to reach out to Francine and I'm going to ask her, well, first of all, good job for being a mindset coach. What'd that look like? Right. And so we like leaned into
Yeah.
each other and you were like, no way. Cause I was going to reach out to you.
Uh-huh.
And from that, through our conversation of like, oh my gosh, me too. Like, yes. Right. Like that whole, I think
Yes.
I was in the Walmart parking lot that day and we were on FaceTime. But just that whole interaction and that we created a 3-day event out of that, a free 3-day event.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like through the planning stages of I don't know how many pages in Google Docs now, it's probably like 60 pages of notes and brain dumps and ideas and planning. And,
Yeah.
we created Collab Coaching because we
Yes.
realized that 3-day event was only scratching the surface. And we wanted
Right.
to go so much deeper because we kept hearing the same thing. I'm doing the things, or I find I'm avoiding doing the things I know I need to do, but
Mm-hmm.
I want this. What's going on? What's the
Yeah.
disconnect? I mean,
Yeah.
is that how you remember it all too, Francine?
Yes, yes, I think that's pretty much. And I like you, Chelsea. I remember when I first saw your post too about mindset coaching. I was like, wait, what? What is she doing? Like that's my area, And it's funny because like you and I were acquaintances. I would have
Mhm.
considered you a friend, but not close friends. And um, I've learned so much more about you and you about me, I'm sure,
Mm.
over this time. And it's so funny because we have so many, we have more things that make us similar than we
Mhm.
do, like outward differences. And just even like personal things in our lives, we've got these connections or we've experienced something very similar. So, yeah, it's just been a great experience. And that is a life lesson in itself, too, that instead of getting jealous about someone, which Chelsea and I both experienced, lean into that. That's one of the things we unpack sometimes because you're not jealous for the reason you're jealous of someone, and maybe that's not even the word to use. There's something about that person that's gotten your attention because there's something about them that you admire. So rather than pulling back and going into your shell, first of all, I suggest that you get quiet and do some of this unscripted journaling to try to unpack other times in your life that you have felt this way. There's probably been other times. This probably wasn't the first. And, just kind of pull out some of the details about that, about how that went down, what happened. Um, and, when things happen over and over again, sometimes you develop like a callus. And so you're less and less aware of all the details. So that's why unscripted journaling helps you pull that out. But after you move past that, reach out to that person. I mean, if there's something you admire about them, get curious, talk to them. When we had our conversation, Chelsea and I were both like, I mean, it was kind of fumbly, wasn't it, Chelsea? Like it wasn't like
Yeah.
either had a script or anything. Like we were just really kind of feeling it out as we went along, and then we came up with something. So, um, but those times when you are really triggered by an intense emotion, that's a great time to lean in and pull the data from that. See what that's teaching you, what you can learn from that, why that keeps occurring. You have to go through it to heal through it. So until you heal from something, until you get the lesson, um, God's going to keep throwing that thing back up in your life. So you might as well get messy and get through it.
Right. Might as well learn from it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh gosh, it's so true. And honestly, it's like perfect timing for this, jealousy or whatever it is, a strong emotion, because a lot of the people from our company are
Mhm.
just getting back. I think today, or was it yesterday, was their last day in Mexico. And, Francine and I did not earn this trip. And, so there was a time in my business when I would get cranky about that, especially before I was eligible to earn these trips, because I was working really hard, but because I didn't have leaders who I was helping at the same time, I was not eligible to earn those trips.
Mhm.
And I would unfollow people for that week, and I would avoid their pictures, and I didn't want to like talk to them, and thankfully God got a hold of my heart in those moments and said, how about let's practice some compassion and curiosity and celebrating others and learning from them. So
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
always taken that stance since then of when someone is doing what I want to do or what I'm trying to do, or they have already done it, I want to go sit at their table and I want to bring a notebook and I want to ask, like, what are you doing? Like, what can I learn from you? Tell me how you did it. Tell me all of it. Tell me all the things. And,
Yeah.
I think that was a great lesson I learned and has really helped me. Because
Mhm.
this week, I wasn't there, but I also didn't work for it and I didn't earn it. That makes sense, right? I was focused in other areas. And, so plus, I mean, I've earned things in the past that was not aligned with God, nor was it aligned with, doing it all in the way that I would want to if I went back and did it again. And so I think those lessons as well, that like just earning something for the sake of earning it
Mhm.
is not always the greatest, right? And,
Mhm.
having the right intentions and approach and mindset behind working
Mhm.
towards things like that. And I know we just talked about this on our call yesterday, right? With
Mhm.
success. And
Yes.
I thought that was a great tool or assignment that you shared, Francine, in relation with the 7Fs. If you want to unpack
Right.
that a little
Yes.
bit,
So
putting you on the spot.
yeah. So yeah. No. No. We did talk about success, and I mean, you can pull out your dictionary, and there's a definition there. So
Mm.
we did, suggest people start with that, but then personalize it. So what does success look like to you? Because it looks different to everyone.
Mhm.
And what one of the things Chelsea and I point out too is that success isn't a destination. It sounds cliche,
Mhm.
but it truly is who you become in the process. So so unpacking what is specific to them in regards, when would they feel successful when A, B, and C happened in their life, when they were able to A, B, and C. This is what success may look like. But then looking back at those seven things, those 7 F's, what would show up in those areas, to show you that you were being successful. So what else did we say about that show? I mean, that's kind of an overview, but yeah,
Yeah.
just personalizing it.
Yeah, and I think, because people are asking like how do you dig deeper into that success, and what I recommended was doing a few things, going through each of those buckets of the 7 F's, and as you just said, thinking of certain situations, because one example, which is not part of the 7 F's, it is family, but parenting falls under family, right?
Yes, yes.
And when you think from a worldly perspective of what is it to raise successful children, it's very different from somebody who is a Christian who is raising your children from a biblical perspective of what successful children looks like. And
Hmm.
so, we shared that example, and I encourage people to look at those, like look at the contrast and compare, like what are some things that you think is not success,
Hmm.
maybe in the world's definition, and instead what do you think is success? That's one way you could do it. Another way you could do it is to have like a checklist of core character values. I think we talked about that, of
Hmm.
looking through like what aligns with success, and
Hmm.
what are some, I think we also talked about what are some small steps you can do in each of those categories, as
Right.
strategy, but more of like fallback small things that you can do to stay
Hmm.
consistent. So in faith, that's getting in the word each day, but
Hmm.
also taking all of this and being able to step back and filtering it through season, through I mean, season is the biggest one because our
Yes.
seasons are constantly changing, and we tend to not look at season, and we tend to just apply the same formula or pace or intensity in every single season. And
Mhm.
that's where misalignment happens,
Right.
especially if, God has you in a good place, but you're trying to force it out of alignment
Mhm.
to to apply the same pace you had at a different season, like maybe when you started your business, because we all have to run a little faster in the beginning to get the
Yeah.
plane off the ground flapping our arms, right? And then we can kind of glide a little, right? It's a little easier
Yeah.
after that. And so I think that just taking that tool of using the 7Fs to filter each of these areas and to do it from a stepping back position at looking through seasons
Mhm.
can be really helpful in defining success in each of those areas overall, and then in each of those individual buckets. I think that can
Yeah.
be really
So good.
helpful.
So good, Chelsea. And I
Mm-hmm.
loved what you said about the worldview too versus
Mm-hmm.
what matters for you. Like thinking about fitness, there's so much junk out there about, eat 32 avocados a day and you'll be healthy, or, whatever it is. But and like one of the, I don't know why this is a thing, but one of the biomarkers, or what, it's not even a biomarker, but one of the things that we think people are healthy, like if they're thin, if they're skinny, and so then weight gets lumped in there, like how much you weigh and blah 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 blah. And there's a lot of things you can do to decrease your weight that certainly do not make you healthier, but
Mm-hmm.
that gets all confused in people's minds. And so just knowing what works for you, is more important than what other people out in the world may be saying. There's a lot of noise in the world, and there's a lot of noise
There
in your
is.
head. So it's giving yourself time to be able to pull it out there so you can listen to what you have going on.
Yeah. And just asking yourself, okay, well, why am I thinking this? Or why am I doing this? Or why am I feeling this? And just really taking that time to get nitty gritty. I can't talk. Nitty gritty. It's hard when you can't talk and you do a podcast, isn't it? Right.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's what I'm most excited for in the second round of collab coaching, is just, bringing in more people, and we're keeping our alumni in there so that they can continue this journey, because I know that most, if not all, have said they're not ready for this journey to be done. They feel like they're just getting started. And so they're going to be staying inside. And so I
Yeah.
love that we're going to have that dynamic of like new people coming in, the alumni being there have already been in this journey, to kind of help them along, but also continue their own journey.
Yes.
And so I love that we're doing both of that. So, I mean, the doors are open
Hmm.
and we are super excited. We're going to be kicking off May 8th, which is a Wednesday. So, I mean, the breakdown of basically how we do it is we meet 3 times a month on Zoom for 3 months. And the fourth week is always free. And we leave that week free because we need rest. We are the coaches who are not going to tell you to get out there and do more. We're actually going to tell you to do less most of the time and to rest. And so that rest is for you guys, that rest is for us. And, you know, inside those calls, I mean, we teach, we coach, as I said, we hold our plans loosely
Hmm.
because the spirit's usually like, side road, take this exit. And we do.
Hmm.
Um, but then we also do Slack. We provide a Slack channel private access for every single one of our clients, so that, because we know that when you get into your real life off these calls and you're actually like, working through these things are going to come up, and you're going to have specific examples and instances where you're like, okay, I know I got a thought going on here, but I'm struggling to understand where it is or what it's coming from. And
Hmm.
so I love that we provide that for our clients and alumni.
Hmm.
What else? What
Yeah.
else do people need to know about this?
So every week, yeah, there is a topic, and like Chelsea said, we will go off road a little bit, but you will get information on the topic. So some of the topics that we've covered this session, and this was actually something our alumni asked, will we cover the same topics? Yes and no. We some of these topics are fundamental for you, so we will cover them again, but we will cover them differently or in more depth, perhaps. But some of the things we've covered have been identity and fear and setting goals and money and burnout. So some of those things may resonate with you. And so there's at the beginning of each weekly session, Chelsea and I will do some co-teaching. And then, excuse me, this next session, we will give you a tool. We will introduce a tool that you'll be able to take with you. Some of those tools may overlap, like the journaling, for instance. That's great always, so we're not giving you something else just to give you something else to do. But if it's relevant to you, that's great. But we'll be introducing you to other tools that we've used. And then we call it hot seat coaching, but it's just the ability for you to be able to have conversation with us and with the group in the second half of each of these weekly sessions. And so we can unpack, what you've been experiencing in your business or in an area of your life, and just help you make those connections and help you. You probably already know what you need to be doing. So, just helping you kind of make sense, maybe helping you figure out like what's getting in your way, helping you unpack those stories. And sometimes, not sometimes, often too, like other people in the group will be able to provide more input for you as well. So I love that community, and that's forming there too, because the people are able to connect and see that they get more than just you and me. They get these other people too, as supporters and cheerleaders in their lives. And then, like Chelsea said, there is availability to us throughout the rest of the week through the Slack channel. So things come up. One of our participants this time, she lost her mom, and so she reached out to us about that, because loss and grief, will show up in other areas of your life too. You don't compartmentalize that to just the piece of the pie, in which it occurred. So anyway, it's not one more thing to do. If you do have, strategies and activities you're doing for your business, this is an accompaniment to that. And it's kind of like, it's like putting the gas in the lawnmower before you go out and mow the lawn. The mindset coaching is the gas. Like, it helps you show up rationally, more logically. People tell us, and I know I've experienced this, I think you have too, Chelsea, but I feel like I can show up more authentically. Like, some of that stuff, before you process it, it's very shameful. It feels shameful. It shouldn't be, but that's how it feels, because it's not out in the open. And so being able to bring it out and see the connections, it's like, oh my gosh, that's why that keeps happening. That's why I keep doing that. Like, it almost releases that energy and that hold it's had on you, right? And so you can show up more authentically. And it just really does make life more fun when you're not carrying around all that weight.
Right. And I feel like it's allowed people to step more fully into who God made them to be. And I think that that's my favorite part, because so much within the social selling entrepreneur industry is like a copy paste, right? Like, seeing something work for somebody else. So that means if it's a strategy that is neutral, it should work for me, right? Like, that makes sense. But then what do we do when it doesn't work for us? And that's why people come to us and are working with us inside Collab Coaching, because it is. It's like you could go outside with an empty gas tank and a lawnmower and you can push it around your yard, but it's not going to cut a darn thing. And it's probably going to be harder work, especially if you have a self-propelled lawnmower that needs the gas to go.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to just be pushing the thing all around and not actually making any progress, and just wearing yourself out and getting frustrated and jaded and, all of those things. And, that's why people are working with us. I would say, Francine, would you, they have the strategies, they've tried the things, and something is not computing, like something is not translating when they're having conversations. And that's what we're doing, is we're helping facilitate those conversations to bring that awareness around the thoughts that are blocking the outcomes that they actually want.
Because at the end of the day, okay, if you haven't heard anything else, hear this. Write this down. This is the key to succeeding in business. Talk to people, period. Like, that is all you have to do. So, like, all the other stuff, like if you show up on social media, or if you have an email list, or if you have an in-person event, or maybe you're sending flyers in the mail, or maybe you've decided to put money into a billboard. I mean, there's 1,001 ways to advertise your business, which is what actually all the strategy is. But just showing up and talking to people, that's what it's all about. And so the mindset coaching helps you be able to show up. So we say this a lot too, the common denominator in your business is you. You are the thing, you are the person that is a piece of anything else that you do. So we want you to be able to show up and not have any of that extra baggage, so you can do the stuff, do the things.
Right. Because I think like probably our tagline, like I love to help people help themselves, right? Like that's what we're doing. We're helping people help themselves. We're not giving you the answers. We're not giving you some special formula of strategy. What we're
Yeah.
doing is helping you to be able to use any strategy that aligns with you in your season, and you'll get results doing it. That's
Mhm.
essentially what we've done. And we help you find the thing under the thing that's actually the thing that is blocking
Yeah.
whatever actions you are taking, right? And I get so excited to see these light bulb moments from our clients. And I can't wait. I know we already have people joining. And so from this, if you want to be inside Collab Coaching for the next mastermind, when we kick off beginning of May, then Francine has a series of emails to give you more information about it. And I will have that link pasted in the show notes and in the description of this. Or if you're like, heck, I don't even need that, I want to jump right in, we'll also list the payment link so that you can jump right in and get inside when we kick off in May. And I'm sure, what is people's number one question, Francine? How much does it cost?
Mhm.
Always, right? Because that's what we all want to know. And I will say, it doesn't matter how much it costs. If it's something I want to do, I'll pay it. Like if I see the value in it.
Mhm.
But we're gonna shock you. It's $297
Mhm.
one time.
Yeah, one time.
Time for the whole 3 months and the 24/7 Slack access and all the things. So
Yeah.
we know we should charge more, but that's not how we felt led. And it's what we're doing. We're offering affordable group coaching so that you can get
Mhm.
to the nitty gritty, messy mindset work. And
Yeah.
um, that's what we do. And that's what we're
Oh,
doing.
one more thing, Chelsea, too.
Yeah.
If somebody can't attend live, we record all
Oh,
these and
sure.
we have a group where their house. So that's another thing too. So if you can't be on there, I mean, I do think it's beneficial to be there live because you do have the
It is.
opportunity to participate, but we know stuff happens. So if you can't be on 1 week or a couple weeks, like maybe May, school's still going on. So May's a rough month, but you could hop on full force in June. That's great. It'll be recorded and it will be in the group that you'll be able to access.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'd say that's probably our second question we always get, right? Yep, absolutely. Because all of our calls are always on Wednesdays at 10 Central. That's just the way we've kept it, and that has seems to work well for people. And if they can't be there live, then those recordings are also great. And we always have a place you can post questions ahead of time. So if you have something specific that you
Right.
want addressed on the live call, then you could do that even if you can't be there live. So many good things. And I just can't wait, Francine. I love
Me
this.
too. I do too.
Like
I do too.
this was not on my bingo card of what I thought I would be doing with mindset coaching, and it's so much better.
Yes, I agree. I
It's so
agree,
much better.
Chelsea. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm excited to see who finds their way here again. So
me
it's
too.
they'll just be the people that are supposed to be here. So we're excited for you all.
Yes, and we are working on some swag as well. So that's going to be, guys, there's just so many ideas that Francine and I have that we're so excited about, like including retreats down the road and just so many exciting things that we've had on our hearts for a long time. And we just didn't really know how. How that was going to happen until we started talking and working together. And so we're excited to see where this leads. And honestly, it's just the beginning
Yes.
for collab coaching and what's going to go ahead. So thanks for joining me, Francine. I'm so glad
Thanks,
to work with
Chelsea.
you.
Me
And
too.
I will make sure they get your link for Instagram too, so they can follow you. Francine has the best reels. They're so good.
Okay.
So many good things she teaches on. All right, my friends. Well, thanks so much for listening today. And we hope to see you soon inside Collab Coaching. Take care.
Thank you.